So the purpose of our presentation today is to give you an overview of what election councils do, the role they play in our children's education, and their overall importance in the community. Education councils help improve our schools. They strengthen school communities and they promote student achievement and make our public schools the best that they can be. In 2019, CEC members lobbied the state to revise the law around education councils so that voting is no longer restricted to 3 parents in every school, but open to all parents of New York City public school students. Now, in order to manage an electorate that has grown from 5,000 to over 1 million parents, the DOE is using the New York City Schools account. This is a website. It allows parents to view important information about all of their students in one place. You may have heard of it as NYCDOE or My Student, and you'll learn more about it later. So if you want to be a candidate for a community or a citywide education council, it's really important to find out about CECs. The best way to do this is to attend a CEC meeting in your district or a citywide meeting. And all councils have websites as well as a lot of information on the DOE website, which is schools.nyc.gov. And currently all council meetings are online, so it's really easy to stop by and check it out. So community education councils have 11 members per council, 9 of whom are elected, and 2 are appointed by the borough president. All seats are up for re-election this year. Now, citywide councils are the same, except for the high school council, which elects 2 parents from each borough for a total of 10 parents to represent high schools all across the city. There are also 3 appointees, 1 from the public advocate and 2 from other citywide councils. So each of the community education councils, of which there are 32, has 2 seats that are reserved, one for the parent of a student with an IEP and the other for a parent of an ELL student. You can read on this slide about the many duties of the councils. But being a council member, it's a commitment of time outside of the 2 mandatory meetings each month. Council members are expected to visit schools, participate in committees, as well as taking part in working groups and advisory panels in the DOE. Now, all work is voluntary. This is not a paid job. There's a limited reimbursement for childcare, but it is limited. So this next slide shows some examples of eligibility. It's based on the student. Now, it is possible to be more eligible for more than 1 council for each student. If a student has an IEP or ELL status, then that would expand eligibility to additional councils. You can see the family on the left has 2 children, and she can participate in 3 council elections. If this is still a little unclear, don't worry. When you log in to apply, NYCDOE will point you to the councils you're eligible for. That's why it's so important to have all of your students linked to your NYCDOE account. So when you're ready to apply to an education council, you'll find yourself here at the NYCDOE sign-in page. As with the whole DOE website, it's translatable into 9 languages. There are 2 steps to setting up an account. After you create a new account on the website, then you need to link your students with a special creation code that your parent coordinator gives you. Now, if you don't yet have a NYCDOE account, you can just click here on the Create Account button, and it only takes a few minutes. When you've created a username and password and some security questions, you will get a verification email to verify this is your account. At that point, your NYCDOE will be open, but your students will not be visible. That's where you have to add the creation code to link your children. So here we are in the homepage of NYCSA, and you can see each of these parents, 2 students, are represented at the bottom of the page in their own box. If you want to say, get the bus schedule or the report card for one child, you would click select for that child. But we're going to apply for a community and education council. That's we're clicking apply now. So as I mentioned earlier, parents can be eligible for more than one council per child. And in some cases, that can mean a lot of councils. In the event that you're eligible for multiple councils, you can choose which you would like to apply to. You may apply to all of them if you wish, but you can only be seated on one council, even if you win a seat on more than one. So the application allows you to list your choices in order of preference. So if you win more than one seat, you'll be seated on the council that's highest on your list. So this next page, it's an example of a candidate's statement. It's a very important part of the process, and you may need to take some time to write it. Now, don't worry, because you can always save your application by clicking Continue Later, which will save everything you've already entered. So you should briefly describe yourself, your experience, and what it is that will make you a great council member. And make sure you check for spelling and grammar, because we are not allowed to correct any mistakes that are here. So another way to introduce yourself to voters is to attend the candidate forum for the council you are applying to. Forums are hosted by the district president council. That's a council made up of every school's PA or PTA president in that district. After your application is accepted, you'll get an invitation to the forum and a reminder. Forums will be videoed as they're happening online. So the video will be posted, and your statement or the answers to the questions that are made to you will be available to voters as they review who the candidates are. So I'm just going to review some really important information about applying to a council. Each parent needs their own New York State schools account, New York City schools account, their own NYCSA. If you have problems or any questions getting signed up, your parent coordinator is your gatekeeper. She can help you. So every parent is eligible to apply to as many councils that represent their students, and both parents of a student can apply. But if they were both to win, only one could be seated, as there is an election rule that allows only one parent per school to be seated on the council. So I'm going to give you a quick preview of our new voting system, because that's the biggest change to take place in this election process. Now, instead of 3 parents per school, which used to be the voters, they were the PA president and secretary and treasurer. Now, every parent in the school is eligible. And the way it works is that each child has a vote for the council that they're eligible for. In this situation, I happen to know that this is a family of 4 children, but they can vote in 7 councils. So this is 7 votes, not per parent, but per family. So it's important for parents to decide and allocate the votes between them. But the way that it works technically is that whoever goes first in May to vote will be able to take those votes. And if the other parent were to go on, they would find that the voting was already completed. So this is a timeline. Applications are open in February until the last day, midnight on the 28th of February. Please do not wait to get your New York City schools account open, because if you need help from your parent coordinator, I doubt they'll be answering the phone at 10 p.m. on Sunday night. So get your NYCSA account straight. You'll be so pleased you did, because of all the excellent information that's available there. And then apply early. So in March and April, as I mentioned before, we'll have our candidate forums, which will be virtual, and they'll be recorded so voters can review the event at any time. And then in May, we vote. It's right now is from May the 1st to May the 11th, but it's usually extended for a few days. Sometimes in the past, we needed to hold runoff elections. We're not sure if that will happen because our electorate is different, but we have plenty of time before June 26th, which is when we hold an orientation. Our new members are sworn in and they begin their 2-year term on July the 1st. Now, I just want to say that parents, they have a powerful voice in shaping the policies and priorities for New York City schools. And your participation in these elections is a way to ensure that the strongest parents are elected to represent you and your students. So make sure that you and all your fellow parents get signed up to their New York City Schools account. Check out a CEC meeting or a citywide council meeting, and then keep an eye out for our marketing campaign. You'll see it on bus shelters and the New York City kiosks, as well as hearing about the election on radio and social media. So if you are a social media person and you see one of our campaign ads, which is right here, please forward it to your group and get the word out so everybody can play their part.